What happens when one of Britain's most beloved acting legends sits down for what should be a friendly morning chat, only to find herself facing a host more interested in stirring drama than celebrating achievements? In just 39 seconds, a single dismissive comment from Lorraine Kelly would ignite a firestorm that left cameras rolling, crew members gasping, and an entire studio audience watching in stunned disbelief as Dame Judi Dench walked off the set. The morning started like any other episode of the popular talk show. The studio lights were bright and warm, casting their familiar glow across the set as audience members settled into their seats. The air buzzed with anticipation. After all, it was not every day that someone of Dame Judi Dench's caliber graced the morning television screen. At 89 years old, she remained one of the most respected figures in entertainment, known not just for her incredible body of work, but for her grace, wit, and unshakable dignity. The show's panel that day included several regulars. Sitting to Lorraine's left was Marcus, the entertainment correspondent, who usually kept things light with celebrity gossip and film reviews. To her right sat Sarah, a lifestyle expert who talked about everything from home decorating to healthy eating. At the far end of the curved desk was Tom, the show's resident commentator on current events, a man known for his sharp tongue and willingness to say what others would not. When Judi walked onto the set, the audience erupted in applause. She moved with the elegance that had defined her career, offering a warm smile and a gracious wave. She wore a deep purple dress, simple yet sophisticated, with a silk scarf draped around her shoulders. Her eyes, still sharp and bright despite her years, took in the studio with interest. Lorraine stood to greet her, leaning in for the customary air kiss before gesturing to the guest chair. "Dame Judi, welcome. Welcome. So lovely to have you here," she said, her voice carrying that practiced enthusiasm that morning show hosts perfected over years. "Thank you for having me," Judi replied, settling into her seat and adjusting her scarf. "It's rather early for me, I must confess, but I am happy to be here." The audience laughed warmly. There was something about Judi's honesty that people found refreshing. She never pretended to be anything other than herself. Lorraine launched into her introduction, listing off Judi's many accomplishments: the 7 Olivier Awards, the Oscar, the 10 BAFTAs, the decades of memorable performances on stage and screen. It was an impressive list by any measure. As Lorraine spoke, Marcus and Sarah nodded along appreciatively. Tom watched with his usual skeptical expression. "Now, Dame Judi," Lorraine began, shifting forward in her chair, "I want to talk about your new project. You have got this wonderful audiobook coming out, a collection of Shakespeare's sonnets. Tell us about that." Judi's face lit up. "Oh, yes, it has been such a joy to record. Shakespeare's sonnets are, well, they are everything, are they not? The language, the emotion, the timeless themes. I have been performing Shakespeare for over 60 years, and I still find new things in his work every single time." 60 years, Lorraine repeated, and something in her tone shifted. "That is quite a long time, is it not?" There was a brief pause. Judi tilted her head slightly. "Well, yes. When you love what you do, the years pass quickly." Lorraine smiled, but it did not quite reach her eyes. "I suppose at your age, you have certainly earned the right to take on these smaller projects. Audiobooks, voice work. It must be nice to slow down a bit, not have to memorize all those lines anymore, or stand on a stage for hours." The temperature in the studio seemed to drop several degrees. Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Sarah's smile froze on her face. Tom leaned back, arms crossed, watching with sudden interest. Judi's expression remained polite, but her voice took on a firmer quality. "I would hardly call it slowing down. I recorded the audiobook because the project excited me. The sonnets deserved a proper reading, and I was honored to be asked." Of course, Lorraine said, waving a hand dismissively. "But let us be honest. Reading poetry into a microphone is not exactly the same as performing Cleopatra at the National Theater, is it? I mean, you are not exactly doing the physically demanding roles anymore. A murmur rippled through the audience. Several people exchanged worried glances. This was not the friendly chat they had expected. Marcus tried to intervene, his voice bright with forced cheerfulness. I think what is so wonderful about Dame Judi is that she has always chosen projects based on quality, not on what is trendy or physically demanding. Her performance in that last film was absolutely stunning, and she barely moved from her chair in some scenes. Exactly, Sarah chimed in quickly. And the audiobook sounds amazing. I love falling asleep to poetry. It is so soothing. Judi turned her gaze to Sarah, one eyebrow slightly raised. Falling asleep? Sarah's face flushed. Oh, no, I meant that in a good way. Relaxing. You know, calming. Lorraine jumped back in, clearly not ready to let the conversation shift to safer ground. But seriously, Dame Judi, you must admit that there comes a time when we all need to accept our limitations. Age catches up with everyone eventually, even legends. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Judi sat very still for a moment, her hands folded in her lap. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but carried clearly across the studio. Limitations, she repeated. I see. And what limitations exactly do you think I should be accepting? Lorraine leaned forward, her expression one of exaggerated sympathy. Well, you know, the physical ones, the mental ones, perhaps. I am not saying you have lost your touch, but surely at 89, things are not as sharp as they once were. Memory, energy levels, all of that. It is nothing to be ashamed of. It is just nature. Tom uncrossed his arms and leaned forward. I think what Lorraine is trying to say, he said slowly, is that maybe there is a certain, shall we say, dignity in knowing when to step back. Let the younger generation have their moment. Judi turned to look at him. The younger generation, she said evenly, is perfectly capable of having their moment without me needing to disappear. There is room for everyone in this profession. Always has been. But is there, though? Lorraine pressed. I mean, roles are limited. Funding is limited. Should not those opportunities go to people who are, well, building their careers rather than winding them down? Marcus looked genuinely distressed now. I do not think that is fair at all. Dame Judi brings something to every project that nobody else can. Experience, skill, gravitas. You cannot put a price on that. Of course you can, Tom interjected. That is literally how the industry works. And let us be real here. Audiences want fresh faces. They want energy. They want people they can relate to, not someone who needs help getting up from a chair. The audience gasped. Several people made sounds of disapproval. Judi sat very straight in her chair, her jaw tight. That was uncalled for, Sarah said sharply, surprising everyone. Completely uncalled for. Lorraine held up a hand. Now, let us not get too sensitive. We are just having an honest conversation here. Dame Judi is a big girl. She can handle a little truth. Can you not, Dame Judi? Judi's eyes flashed. Truth? Is that what you call this? Making assumptions about my capabilities based solely on my age? Suggesting that I am somehow taking opportunities away from younger performers? Marcus leaned forward, looking directly at Lorraine. Can I just say something here? This entire line of questioning is completely inappropriate. Dame Judi came here to discuss her audiobook project, a beautiful collection of Shakespeare sonnets that she poured her heart into. Instead, you have spent the last several minutes questioning whether she should even be working at all. That is not journalism. That is cruelty. Lorraine turned on him, her eyes flashing. Cruelty? That is rich coming from someone who spends his days gossiping about celebrities. At least I have the backbone to ask difficult questions. There is a difference, Marcus shot back, between difficult questions and insulting ones. Asking about the creative process behind the audiobook would be a difficult question. Asking about the challenges of adapting sonnets for a modern audience would be a difficult question. Implying that someone is too old to do their job is not a difficult question. It is just mean. The audience broke into applause again. Several people called out words of support for both Marcus and Judi. Lorraine's jaw tightened. Tom cleared his throat. Look, I think we are all getting a bit too emotional here. Can we just acknowledge that there is a legitimate debate to be had about ageism in entertainment? About whether older performers are getting opportunities at the expense of younger ones? Judi turned to him with a raised eyebrow. A legitimate debate? Fine. Let us have it. Tell me, Tom, do you think I got my role in my last film because of my age or despite it? Tom shifted in his seat. Well, I think you got it because the role required someone older. Exactly, Judi interrupted. The role required someone my age. That is the point you all seem to be missing. Not every role is for a 20-something. Not every story is about youth. There are stories about older people. Stories that need older actors to tell them authentically. We are not stealing opportunities. We are filling a completely different space. Sarah nodded vigorously. Exactly right. If anything, the industry needs more stories about older characters, not fewer. We have an aging population. People want to see themselves represented on screen, and that includes older viewers. But the numbers do not lie, Lorraine interjected, pulling a sheet of paper from beneath her desk. I have statistics here showing that films with younger casts make more money. Television shows with younger leads get better ratings. The market has spoken. Judi let out a short laugh. The market? You want to talk about the market? Let me tell you about the market. My last film, the one where I barely moved from a chair, as Marcus so kindly pointed out, made over £200 million worldwide. The audiobook we are supposed to be discussing hit #1 on the pre-order charts within hours of being announced. So please, do tell me more about what the market wants. Lorraine's face reddened. Well, those are exceptions. Outliers. Most projects with older performers do not do nearly as well. Most projects with young performers do not do well either, Marcus pointed out. That is just the nature of the entertainment industry. For every blockbuster, there are dozens of failures. Age has nothing to do with it. Quality does. Tom leaned back in his chair. I think what Lorraine is trying to say, perhaps not as delicately as she could, is that there is a perception issue. Fair or not, audiences associate youth with excitement, with energy, with relevance. Older performers are seen as... Seen as what? Judi challenged. Go on. Say it. Tom hesitated. As past their prime. As less dynamic. Look, I am not saying I agree with it, but that is the perception. And people like you perpetuate that perception, Sarah said sharply. Every time you say things like that on air, you reinforce these harmful stereotypes. You make it seem acceptable to dismiss people based on their age. I am a commentator, Tom defended himself. I comment on reality. I do not create it. But you do, Judi said quietly. Every person with a platform creates reality for someone. When you sit there and suggest that older people are less valuable, less relevant, less worthy of work, you create a reality where that becomes acceptable thinking. Lorraine rolled her eyes. Oh, please. We are not that powerful. People can think for themselves. Can they? Marcus asked. Because right now, there are thousands of people watching the show. And what are they learning? That it is okay to question whether someone should be allowed to work simply because they have reached a certain age. That it is acceptable to make assumptions about their abilities without any evidence. Is that really the message we want to send? The message I want to send, Lorraine said firmly, is that we should be honest. That we should not pretend reality is different than it is. And the reality is that Dame Judi wonderful as she is not the same performer she was 20 years ago. Nobody is at 89. You are absolutely right, Judi said, and everyone turned to look at her in surprise. I am not the same performer I was 20 years ago. I am better. The audience erupted in cheers and applause. Judi waited for them to quiet before continuing. I understand character in ways I could not when I was younger. I have lived through experiences that inform my performances. I have learned patience, subtlety, the value of stillness. Yes, I may move slower. Yes, I may need glasses to read. But my instrument, my craft, my ability to connect with an audience and tell a story that has only deepened with time. Sarah had tears in her eyes. That's beautiful, and so true. Well, are you not? Lorraine asked. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you turned down a role? When was the last time you said, you know what? Give this to someone who really needs it? Judi stared at her. I turn down roles all the time. Roles that do not interest me. Roles that I do not think I am right for. Roles that do not meet my standards. What I do not do is turn down work simply because someone has decided I have had my turn. But maybe you should, Lorraine said. Maybe that is the problem. Maybe you and others like you are clinging on too long, taking up space that could go to fresh talent. Others like me, Judi repeated slowly. You mean older actors. You mean people who have spent their entire lives perfecting their craft. You think we should just vanish the moment we hit some arbitrary age you have decided is too old? That is not what I said, Lorraine protested, but her voice lacked conviction. It is exactly what you said, Judi replied. And frankly, I find it appalling. This idea that people become useless past a certain age, that they should quietly shuffle off and make room for the next generation as if there is only one spotlight and we all have to fight for it. Marcus nodded vigorously. Absolutely. The industry is big enough for everyone. We need the wisdom and experience of established performers just as much as we need new energy. Tom made a dismissive sound. Oh, please. This is not about wisdom. This is about box office, about ratings, about what sells. And I am sorry, but an 89-year-old woman reading poetry is not exactly setting the world on fire. Then why am I here? Judi asked, her voice sharp now. If my project is so unremarkable, if I am so past my prime, why invite me on your show at all? Lorraine smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Because people are curious. They want to see how you are holding up. They want to see if the rumors are true. Rumors, Judi said flatly. What rumors? Lorraine shrugged. You know, that you forget your lines, that you need prompting, that your eyesight is going, that you are difficult to work with because you cannot keep up anymore. The studio went completely silent. Even the cameras seemed to stop their quiet whirring. Judi sat perfectly still, her face pale. Sarah covered her mouth with her hand. Marcus looked horrified. Tom watched with what might have been satisfaction. Those rumors, Judi said quietly, are complete fabrication. I have never forgotten my lines. My eyesight is managed perfectly well with glasses, thank you. And as for being difficult to work with, I challenge you to find a single director or co-star who would say that. Oh, come now, Lorraine said, waving her hand again in that dismissive way. Everyone knows that older actors can be, shall we say, set in their ways, resistant to direction, thinking they know better than everyone else. What I know, Judi said, her voice rising slightly, is that I have been doing this job since before you were born. I have worked with the greatest directors and actors of multiple generations. I have performed in every major theater in this country and won every award there is to win. And I have done it by being professional, prepared, and respectful of my craft. But is that not the problem? Tom interjected. You are living in the past. All those awards, all those performances, they were wonderful. But this is now. This is today. And today, people want something different. People want quality, Marcus said firmly. They want performances that move them, and Dame Judi delivers that every single time. Lorraine turned to Marcus with barely concealed irritation. Marcus, really, must you keep interrupting? We are trying to have a frank discussion here. A frank discussion, Marcus repeated incredulously. Is that what you call this? You are attacking a guest, a legendary actress who has done nothing but grace us with her presence. I am not attacking anyone, Lorraine snapped. I am simply asking the questions that people at home are thinking. The questions that nobody else has the courage to ask. Or the common decency not to ask, Sarah added, quietly. Lorraine shot her a look. Excuse me? Sarah took a breath. I said, the common decency not to ask. This is cruel. You invited Dame Judi here to talk about her audiobook, and instead, you are basically telling her she is too old to work. I never said that, Lorraine protested. You absolutely did, Judi said. In every way except using those exact words. You have questioned my abilities, my relevance, my right to continue doing what I love. And you have done it under the guise of having an honest conversation. Lorraine straightened in her chair. Well, I am sorry if you cannot handle a little criticism, but this is my show, and I ask the questions I think need asking. Your show, Judi repeated. She looked around at the panel, at the cameras, at the audience. Then she looked back at Lorraine. Yes, it is your show, and you have just shown everyone exactly what kind of show it is. What is that supposed to mean? Lorraine demanded. Judi stood up slowly, gathering her scarf around her shoulders. It means that I will not sit here and be insulted. I will not allow you to use me as some sort of cautionary tale about aging in the entertainment industry. I will not give legitimacy to your disrespectful treatment by staying in this chair one moment longer. The audience began to murmur. Some people started applauding. Marcus stood up as well, as if in solidarity. Lorraine's face flushed red. Sit down. We are in the middle of an interview. No, Judi said simply. We are not. This interview is over. You cannot just leave, Lorraine sputtered. You are contracted to be here for the full segment. Judi smiled, but it was a cold smile. Sue me. Tom leaned forward. Dame Judi, do not you think you are being a bit dramatic? This is just television. It is just conversation. She turned to him. Dramatic? I have spent 7 decades on stage and screen. I know drama when I see it. And I know ageism when I experience it. What happened here today was not conversation. It was ambush. Oh, for heaven's sake, Lorraine said, her voice rising. You are being ridiculous. I was simply pointing out facts. You are old. That is not an insult. That is reality. The audience gasped again. Several people booed. A woman in the front row stood up and shouted, Shame on you! Judi looked at Lorraine for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but clear. Yes, I am old. I am 89 years old. And do you know what I have learned in those 89 years? That age brings wisdom. That experience matters. That treating people with respect costs nothing. And that knowing when to walk away from toxicity is one of life's most valuable skills. She turned and began walking toward the edge of the set. Marcus called after her. Dame Judi, please, do not let this. Do not let her. Judi paused and looked back at him with a gentle smile. Thank you, Marcus. You are a good man. Do not change. Lorraine stood up now, clearly panicking as she realized what was happening. Wait. We still have 10 minutes left in the segment. We need to talk about the audiobook properly. That is why you are here. Judi stopped again. For a moment, it seemed like she might turn around. Then she shook her head. No, I came here to talk about my work with someone who respected it. Instead, I was subjected to a series of insults thinly disguised as questions. I will not participate in that. This is unbelievable, Lorraine said, her voice tight. Do you know how many people would kill to be on this show? Judi looked at her one final time. Then perhaps you should treat your guests as if you value them being here. Goodbye, Lorraine. She walked off the set with her head held high. The audience erupted into applause, many people rising to their feet. Behind her, she could hear Lorraine's voice, shrill now with anger. Fine, leave then. We did not need you anyway. There are plenty of other people we can get. Tom started to say something, but Sarah cut him off. Stop. Just stop. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing? Lorraine whirled on her. What is embarrassing is a grown woman throwing a tantrum because she cannot handle a few home truths. Marcus shook his head. That's not what happened, and you know it. You went after her from the moment she sat down. Every question was designed to make her feel small, to make her feel irrelevant. I was doing my job, Lorraine insisted. Your job, Sarah said, her voice shaking slightly, is to make guests feel welcome, to have interesting conversations, not to attack people. The cameras were still rolling. A production assistant appeared at the edge of the set, making urgent gestures. The floor manager called out, "We are going to commercial." Lorraine ignored them both, still focused on her panel. I cannot believe you two are taking her side. She walked out. She abandoned the show. Tom spoke up finally. To be fair, Lorraine, you were pretty harsh. I mean, I agreed with some of what you were saying, but the way you said it... Oh, do not you start, Lorraine snapped. You were right there with me, questioning whether she should still be working. I was playing devil's advocate, Tom protested. That is what I do on this show. But you made it personal. Marcus started gathering his papers. I am done with this segment. I am not sitting here while you try to justify what just happened. Marcus, sit down, Lorraine commanded. He looked at her. No, I think Dame Judi had the right idea. Some situations are not worth staying in. The floor manager called out again, more urgently this time. We really need to go to commercial. Now. Lorraine turned to the camera, her professional smile suddenly back in place, though it looked strained. Well, everyone, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will have... She paused, clearly, trying to remember what was supposed to be next. We will have more great content for you. Stay with us. As soon as the camera light went off, her smile disappeared. She looked around the set, at the disapproving faces of her colleagues, at the audience members who were talking amongst themselves with clear disapproval. Sarah stood up and removed her microphone. I need some air. Sarah, the show is not over, Lorraine said. Sarah paused. No, but I think maybe it should be. She walked off the set, leaving Lorraine standing there with Tom, who suddenly found his notes very interesting. The production assistant approached cautiously. Lorraine, we have a problem. The phones are ringing off the hook. Social media is going crazy. People saw what happened. Lorraine waved her hand dismissively. They will get over it. People love drama. This will probably boost our ratings. The assistant looked uncomfortable. I do not think you understand. They are not calling because they loved it. They are calling to complain about how you treated Dame Judi. The hashtag is already trending, not in a good way. For the first time, Lorraine looked uncertain. What hashtag? The assistant showed her phone. Stand with Judi. It is #1 trending. And the comments, they are not kind to you. Lorraine scrolled through the phone, her face growing paler with each passing second. Comment after comment criticized her behavior, her questions, her treatment of a beloved icon. People were calling for boycotts of the show. Sponsors were being tagged, being asked if they really wanted to support this kind of programming. The floor manager appeared again. "We have 2 minutes until we are back on air. What do you want to do?" Lorraine looked around. Marcus was gone. Sarah was gone. Tom sat there looking deeply uncomfortable. The audience was restless. Many people clearly unhappy with what they had witnessed. She thought about Judi Dench walking off the set with such grace and dignity. She thought about the standing ovation the audience had given her. She thought about the trending hashtag and the angry comments and the potential loss of sponsors. And somewhere deep inside, in a place she rarely accessed, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she had crossed a line that should never have been crossed. The camera light began to glow red, signaling they were about to go live again. Lorraine took a breath and plastered on her smile. But it was too late. The damage was done. Dame Judi Dench had made her point in the most powerful way possible. By simply refusing to stay where she was not respected, she had shown everyone watching exactly what dignity looked like. And Lorraine Kelly, host of a popular morning show, the woman who thought she could say whatever she wanted to, whomever she wanted, had learned a lesson that would echo far beyond that studio. Sometimes the most powerful response to disrespect is not argument or confrontation. Sometimes it is simply walking away.